So in the New Year's announcement of the Queen's Honours List, British Empire medals were awarded to Dave and Mike Knight from Newport Cricket Club for their services to cricket over a long period of time. And Dave and Mike, it's great to be with you today to find out a little bit more about you both. And I'm going to ask you a few quick-fire questions to help everyone know a little bit more about who you are and what you've been up to, as it were. So, what would you say has been your best moment of volunteering during all this time that you've been helping out with Newport Cricket Club?
Okay, well, I'm Mike. I'll go first. First of all, Happy New Year to all the cricketers out there. Hope 2021's better than 2020. And best wishes for the summer. Best moments for volunteering. There have been lots of them. I think working with so many good people, all dedicated to Newport Cricket Club, is obviously an important one. Developing the club's junior section from a very small participation number back in 1990. We've now got 11 junior teams, 3 girls teams. So it's been great to see the growth of that. And I think probably one of the other ones that sticks in my mind is setting up the women and girls cricket section in 2009. I think we were the first club to pay proper attention to the women and girls game. We saw it as an important part of the development of cricket, and particularly for the club. And it was a really rewarding, thing to see a women and girls section take off and thrive and prosper as it has done over very many years. Lots of challenges, and we still face considerable challenges in setting up a women and girls cricket section, but it's been a good journey so far.
Brilliant, thanks. How about you, Dave?
I'm going down the ground development route. In 1990, as you know, we had the Leave Rodney Parade, and at that time the club was pretty much down in the dumps. For the last 3 years at Rodney Parade, Glamorgan came back to Newport and played 3 refuge assurance 40 over matches, and the final one against Yorkshire was rained off without the ball being bowled, sadly. But I remember coming home with Mike that night and actually saying to him that that'll be the last time that we ever see Glamorgan playing first-class cricket in Newport again. So with 30 years development at the new ground, we didn't really give it a thought that Glamorgan would ever come back to Newport. We had a dream that maybe one day they might, and last year, 2019, the impossible dream was made possible when Glamorgan returned with the county championship 4-day match against Gloucestershire. So that really was a very proud moment for not just me and Mike, but for the loyal band of volunteers who had worked extremely hard over a long period of time, many of whom were involved at the end of Rodney Parade. So to see Glamorgan come back to Newport in 2019 was a real proud moment for me.
Yeah, good. Thanks for sharing that. So who is the best player that you've both seen perform now at Spitty Park since you've been there?
Okay, well, if you'd asked me that question at Rodney Parade, I would have said Viv Richards, Alan Border, Shane Warne, because we played against all of those in the Western League when we were playing in the English League. Obviously, we've now moved to Spitty Park, so I'm going to go for someone who's not quite there yet, but I think in the next few years potentially will be one of the best players in the world, and that's Marnus Labuschagne. He played in the match that Dave just referred to when Glamorgan played Gloucestershire last year. He scored a century. It was his highest ever first-class score in that game. So you'll remember that for a long time. He has since beaten it, but I think his dedication, commitment, and all the qualities that he's got, he's going to emerge as one of the best players in world cricket. in the next few years. And I think we'll look back and say, well, we were there when he played his first, got his first championship 100 at Spitty Park.
Yeah, good. And Dave?
We were very fortunate in 2013, just as the ground was really taking shape, to host Sri Lanka as a training base for the ICC Champions Trophy. So in that squad at that time, Sri Lanka had 4 serious world time greats, namely Dilshan, Michaela Jayawardena, Kumar Sangakkara, and Lasith Malinga. And to see them practicing and playing at the ground with the intensity and commitment and ability that they showed, I will never forget that, to see 4 legends of the game on our ground practicing, and to go with their commitment to playing cricket. They were such nice and humble people as well, signing autographs and memorabilia, which is on display in the clubhouse and will be there forever.
Oh, brilliant. Some great names to ponder over there. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Now, when over the just the end of December, obviously you had this news that came to you. Mike, I know you've already told me this, but tell everyone, what was your first thoughts when you first were notified about the honour?
Surprised. We, actually thought it was a prank at the start when we first saw the email. So surprised, but obviously then when we opened the email, you could see from the letter-headed paper that it was, a serious letter, an official letter from the Cabinet Office. So very quickly it emerged that, we'd been awarded the British Empire Medal in the Queen's New Year's Honours List. So it was just a fantastic feeling. Not something that we had set out ever to try to achieve. It was something that we had done because we wanted to do it and we needed to do it for the club. Like Dave said, back in 1990, the club was homeless and penniless. We did it out of necessity more than anything else. So 30 years of hard work, it was nice to be recognised, although that wasn't really the reason why we did it. We wanted to safeguard the future of the club.
You, Dave?
I think Mike's biggest problem was trying to convince me that we had won it, because Mike tends to get to his emails well before I do. And when he sort of said it to me for the very first time, I must be honest, I was quite skeptical and didn't really, I wanted to see the email actually on his computer. Once he showed me that, he'd won me over, and the delight and the proudness of it, it all sort of began to sink in then. But Mike certainly knew a good 5 minutes before I did.
Oh, brilliant, well done. You talked there about you obviously didn't do it for the medal, but how could you encourage others to get as involved as you have at a cricket club? What would you do to encourage others?
I think first of all, you need to have pride in your club. I think you need to look back really and see how the club helped you. And then when the time's right, you realise it's time to put something back to your club. And like I say, that happened in 1990 when the ground was the club was on the verge of extinction. We then said, right, it's time to help the club. They've helped us enough in the past. We decided to put something back into the club. I think loyalty is a key word for me in everything that I've done. It's not a word which I think the current group of players unfortunately use too often nowadays. But I think loyalty, commitment, dedication, pride in your club, all of those things give you that inner strength then to work for the club to develop it for the better.
Yeah. You, Dave?
I think it's important to welcome them, look after them, make them feel important and part of the club. I can remember Mike and I were both teachers, so the man management skills have never really been a problem for us. But I can remember when I first started as a young teacher, one of the older heads in the school said to me, you'll have be dealing with lots of different personalities and different people, and all of them have got a way in. Try and relate to them, find a way in, try to get on their side, and you'll be well away with life. And I think that's what I've always tried to put into practice. Any new people to the club, we welcome, and I'm sure any volunteers out there who are thinking of getting involved with Newport Cricket Club, they would have a great time if and when they do.
Good. Sound advice from you both. Thanks for that. Now, as you know, I work both for Cricket Wales and Glamorgan, and I think he's still captain at Newport Cricket Club. Mike Claydon is one of my work colleagues. Is he as good a player as he tells me he is?
In a word, yes. I can remember Michael as a 7 or 8 year old when he came to the first training session. Dave ran the under 7s and 8s group, and I ran the under 10 and 11s group. And Michael came for the very first time, and he went into Dave's group as a 7 and 8 year old. At the end of the session, as we were having a chat in the bar, Dave said to me, "We had a good player came to training there last night in my group, tonight in my group." He said, "I think he's wasted a little bit in my group. You ought to be thinking about putting him up into your group." So the following week, I put him up into the under 10 and 11 group. He was only tiny, very small. Over the previous couple of weeks, we'd been working on batting shots, and we'd done a fair bit of work on the off drive. And this was like about the 4th week, and we were going to put the shot now into a game situation. And I set the practice up, cones down, the players had to play their shot, and they had to hit it through the targets. So we had a batter, a bowler, and 2 fielders. Michael was in his little group of 4 or 5. The first couple of boys had their goes and played the shot nicely. They'd been there for the 3 previous weeks, so they were pretty, competent as 10 and 11 year olds. Michael stepped up for his first shot, played a beautiful shot, straight to the fielder. I said to him, "Great shot, Mike. That was a really good shot. Well done." Bear in mind, he hasn't done this before. He's 3 years younger than the others. I dropped him a second ball. They were hitting off a bounce feed. I dropped him a second ball, and he hit the ball. And as he hit it, he just opened the face of the bat and hit the ball, and it went in off the stump. And I looked up at him and I said, "What did you do then?" And he turned round and he said, "Well, I could see the 2 fielders had gone onto that side over by there, so I thought I'd hit it on the other side." And I thought to myself, we got a good player here. And looking back all that time ago, I wasn't wrong in my judgment. He's been a fantastic player. Could have played county cricket, I think, quite easily. When you look at county cricketers, they have to have special talents. They have to have special qualities, commitment, obviously, ability, mental toughness, all of those things, resilience. Michael has got all of those. And I think he was unfortunate probably not to go on and become a county cricketer. But certainly he has, when he finishes his playing time at Newport, he'll be remembered as one of the top quality players that Newport Cricket Club has produced.
Yeah,
You'd be pleased with that. I'll ask him for the £20 afterwards.
Sure you agree with all that, Dave?
Yeah, I remember a very wise chairman, president, Bill Jones at Newport Cricket Club. And I remember his words one day. He said, "They won't realise what a good player you've been until you've gone." And I would hold Michael with the same value as that, with the role that he's played with Newport Cricket Club. He lives and breathes cricket. He's got Newport Cricket Club in his blood, and those people, are very rare and hard to replace. I don't think his true standing and record will sort of, people will realise it until he's not there. He's been a very valuable player. I'm not sure statistically about the number of runs and things he scored, but I know in the Premier League he's well up there with his batting, and he's also been known to turn his arm over and claim a few scalps as well. But he will be, you know, a legend when he finishes.
Great, thanks for that. That's 40 quid on his way to Glades. So outside of Newport Cricket Club, what would you say is your favourite ground in Wales that you've been to?
Well, we'd have to say Rodney Parade, you know, as the old ground that we played on. We played a lot of cricket there. But outside of Newport, I'd say Sophia Gardens, the old Sophia Gardens. We played a lot of our cricket there as well, and always enjoyed playing at Sophia Gardens. So that was a nice one. And then on a wider field, Lords is probably the pick of the grounds for most cricketers in the world. I was fortunate to tread on the hallowed turf when our girls and the 13 girls team won the UK Championship back in 2013, and we were presented, or they were presented with the trophy on the ground before the Yorkshire Bank Pro 40 Cup final. So it was a packed crowd, and the girls were invited out onto the field to be presented with their UK trophy, and we were actually able to do a lap of honour around the ground. So that's always a memory for me. So that only underlines really the importance of the ground. Great ground, lovely place, and to be able to go on there as well and do a lap of honour in front of a full crowd was fantastic.
Yeah, how about you, Dave?
I could only go for Rodney Parade. Mike and I were very young when we set foot at Rodney Parade, and walking down those steps from the old Victorian pavilion is something that I will cherish as a young player. And when the old pros in those days told us stories that, you know, the professionals changed in one room and the gentlemen changed in the other, it really brought back traditions and just great sort of memories. The picture actually you can see in the background is a print that Jack Russell did of the old Rodney Parade ground. So we've got very fond memories of that as being our ground.
Yes, I missed out playing there because I was there that day it got rained off, the last day Glamorgan were going to be at Rodney Parade, so shame about that. Yeah, thank you for that. Anyway, so if you could sum up one, and you've only got one now because I know you've tried it on with some of the questions, but you've only got one answer you can give me now. What would you say your proudest moment or the proudest achievement whilst serving all these years at Newport Cricket Club?
Obviously the British Empire medal is right up there, but apart from that, I think just seeing the club develop over the last 30 years, from 1990 when the club was on the verge of extinction to where it is now, you know, it's a fantastic achievement. When we look back at that, I think, you know, it's pretty much like a dream, really. Lots of the things that the club has achieved. So I think it would have to be, you know, the 30 years of achievement that we finished, you know, bearing in mind we had nothing in 1990. We were the worst cricket club in the country. We didn't have a ground, we didn't have any money, and we didn't have a future. 30 years later, we've turned that round completely.
Yeah, amazing. Well done. And Dave?
My best moment, proudest moment would have been the year when Newport won the Western League. As you know, there were only 3 Welsh teams playing in the Western League during the 70s, 80s and 90s. And it was always an ambition of Mike and myself to win the Western League. We had some very strong sides. We had great leaders, Graham Reynolds, Graham Kingston. But it was always, winning the league was always an elusive feat. We never quite got there. We got a number of second places and third places. And when we left Rodney Parade, Mike and I think sort of, without sort of saying anything, secretly felt that maybe our ambition might have failed. But in 1995, which was 5 years into the new ground at Spitty Park, something just clicked. Everything went right. It was a brilliant summer. Mike and I probably had the 2 best seasons of our career, both at the same time. we'd both had good seasons, but very rarely did we both have a good season both together. But in 1995, something clicked. We both had brilliant seasons, and we won the Western League for the only time in Newport's history. And looking back on that with some of those great players that have played and some of those teams from over the bridge, to have won that Western League was a major, major feat and an ambition fulfilled for both of us.
Yeah, very well done. And finally, what would you say your one funniest moment of being at Newport Cricket Club has been?
Okay, well, that involves my younger brother, Andy. Andy was one of the most untidy cricketers that you could ever imagine that played the game. His kit bag was just left from week to week. His jockstrap was eventually ceremoniously burnt. It was that bad. In those days, we all had big coffins to carry our kit in. And the boys decided to play a prank on Andy one week, and they put half a house brick into his coffin. So, of course, he didn't check it. He only put his towel in, took his towel to the game. The kit bag stayed the same. The following week, he came to the match. He hadn't noticed. So, surprise, surprise, what do? Well, they put another half of a house brick into his coffin, hide it under his sweater and stuff like that. That went on for 4 weeks. On the 5th week, he came struggling up the pavilion steps at Rodney Parade, burst into the changing room. He was always late, so everyone else was in the changing room. He dumps his coffin on the big table in the middle of the changing room, and he blurts out, "God, this bleeping bag gets heavier every week." To which everyone in the room just fell on the floor hysterically laughing because they were all in on it. And his face when he finally opened up his coffin and the boys pointed him why his bag was so heavy. I'll always remember that. But yeah, that was a funny occasion.
Good one, thank you. How about you, Dave?
Funnily enough, my funniest moment, or one of the funniest moments, was probably in one of the most serious games I ever played in. During the late 70s and 80s, there was always great rivalry between Newport and Cheltenham. In fact, I think in the club's history, someone wrote about, instances about the World Wars and World War I and World War II, and the Battle of Cheltenham was brought up in that setting. But anyway, in 1979, Newport and Cheltenham had won their way through to the the John Hague Zone Final of the National Knockout, which was a tremendous feat in itself. Newport were drawn at home. Cheltenham were the holders of the National Knockout. They'd won it in 1978. We fancied our chances. We had a very good side. Graham Reynolds, Graham Kingston, Mike and I were, sort of in our prime at that time. Gloucester had Gloucestershire players, Ron Nichols, best player never to have played for England, many people say, David Brown, and a host of other young pretenders. So it was always going to be a battle. We'd played in the league and to and fro a few, as I say, battles in the past. And now it was the John Hague final. Well, match day arrived and it was Sunday. It absolutely poured down with rain on the Saturday night. Now, in those days, the wicket was only covered at the bowler's ends. So the bowler's ends were dry. The middle was quite green and spicy. Sunday turned out to be a lovely sunny day. So there was no doubt about the game being played. But it was going to be a big toss to win. Our captain, Derek Porter, went out with Cheltenham's captain, Ron Nichols, tossed the coin, and we were all watching from the pavilion, hoping and praying that we would win the toss. And sure enough, when Derek came back to the dressing room, yeah, we've won the toss and we've elected to field. Great, what a great start. Come on then, we've got to make this count. I felt tension and pressure because at that stage I was the new ball bowler, so you know there was a lot resting on these first 10 overs probably of the innings. Anyway, we all got changed. The bell went, the umpires went out into the middle, the players left the dressing rooms, walked down those 30 odd steps down at Rodney Parade, and as we got halfway down the steps, both teams just stopped and looked at each other, and hey presto, both teams' wicket keepers had the pads on, ready to go out to field. Now, at the time, it was a bit of a daunting sort of prospect, as all thoughts of having to toss the coin again and all that, you know, sort of went through our minds. But the umpires came back off the pitch. After discussions with the captains, it was confirmed that we had won the toss and Newport were fielding, and the Cheltenham openers had to go out and bat. And to cut a long story short, we got 4 quick wickets, 4 for 20, and they never ever recovered from that position. And we bowled them out for 120, and we knocked them off for 2 wickets. And Mike and I were in at the end batting. Mike got 60. I think Mike was the man of the match, but I always claimed I got the 4 early wickets. I always claimed that should have been my award.
Oh, well done. So as well as creating a great club, you've obviously been very good at winning the tosses on the right from the big match times as well. So
yeah, not so much lately though. There's been a few lately that we've lost. Yeah.
oh, well, you have to change the captain then, won't you? So
Yeah, I think so.
good.
Yeah,
Well,
Dave,
so Dave and Mike, I just want to reconfirm and say a big congratulations from everyone in the cricket family and from Cricket Wales and Glamorgan Cricket. So pleased about the honour that you received, and thoroughly deserved. And let's hope for another 30 or 40 years from you to come. Well done.
thanks very much.
Right, thanks very much, Mark. And at Newport Cricket Club, there's a lot more volunteers as well, and people who work hard as well as Mike and I. So we appreciate all their help. Okay,
Brilliant.
thanks very much.
Okay, thanks both.